Harry and Charles Beckwith were Troop 32's first Eagle Scouts and were awarded the rank of Eagle in 1949. Harry Beckwith demonstrated the tenacity and values required to achieve the rank of Eagle Scout, despite his deafness. As of February 2016, over 100 members of Troop 32 earned the highest rank in Scouting, the Eagle. The Eagle Court of Honor is a Troop 32 annual ceremony celebrating the achievements of those Scouts who achieved the rank of Eagle Scout, traditionally held in early February at Wilson Memorial Union Church. At every Court of Honor ceremony, the new Eagle commits himself to the tenets of the Eagle Charge.
We did everything. We went on trips. We went on trips to Boston. We went on trips to Washington, D.C. We went on major camping trips for a week at a time. We camped across the street from the church, where there are now houses, but it used to be a field over there. It was just a tremendous influence, and every single boy in Watchung belonged to it. As soon as the weather was half decent, we would be out camping in one of our favorite campsites, at least for the Friday night, and come back on Sunday. The sites, most of them were not very. They were all in walking distance of our houses. In fact, the one on Hillcrest Road, which was our really favorite one, was a 5-minute walk from my house. So. But you could step into the woods and down by this little creek, and you were out of touch with everything.
Popular treks in Troop 32's more recent past included canoe trips on the Mullica, Delaware Rivers, and rafting on the Lehigh River, as well as summer camp in Camp Watchung, located in Glen Gardner, New Jersey. Camp Watchung moved to Stanhope, New Jersey after the merger of several Boy Scout councils. The camp is now better known as Allamuchy or Camp Summers. In recent years, Troop 32 has taken part in other high-adventure trips from New Mexico to the Adirondacks and hiked along the Appalachian Trail through many of the states and the East Coast.
My favorite trip was definitely when we went to Canada. A troop from Westfield had been donated an island, and they owned this island. It was called Turtle Island. We load all the equipment onto boats, and we actually stay on an island, and it was an experience like no other. The lake is this crystal clear lake, and it's hundreds of feet deep. It was really neat, and everywhere you go, so if you need to run out and get supplies, you're hopping on the boat and going, and you really are self-sufficient out there. There's no one out there. There's no electricity, no plumbing, nothing. I mean, it's all you. Every day we were fishing and doing different merit badges throughout the day. And it was a summer camp, but it had like a different feel to it. It was a sense of community, and you were all on this island interacting with one another. And it was some of our greatest memories of scouting, for sure.
Sabattis was definitely a very interesting trip. Like, I've been at Sabattis when there was snow there, I've been at Sabattis when it rained, I've been at Sabattis when it was like beautiful, blue sky, sunny. And it's interesting to see how well that environment holds up during all those weather changes, and each time it's still amazing. For Sabattis, it was definitely like where you just kind of had to take a moment, like just like stop paddling for a moment, just sit in the canoe, and it was just nice, like to just like put the paddle on your lap and just like embrace the environment. It was like that kind of trip where you just had to enjoy every moment of it and every section you were on the river. I would definitely recommend anyone to try it, because it's like nowadays with technology and all these advancements, we kind of don't take a moment to enjoy nature for what it is. And I definitely am happy that when I was younger, I got to enjoy those moments, because even at my age now, it's like I enjoy hikes, canoeing, and all nature activities so much more because of it.
The water was pristine to the point where we literally just filtered it in the morning to fill our Nalgene's up, and that was the water we used to drink throughout the trip. We didn't bother lugging anything else around in our canoes. We had enough stuff to carry around when we had to do portages or get out of our canoes to go around a waterfall or some other obstacle. Sometimes there were bogs and rivers that we literally just hiked past because they were so windy that we couldn't even canoe or navigate through them. So many new things up at Sabattis that as scouts that we hadn't seen before. There was a natural water slide at Tupper Lake called Bog River Falls, and it was basically really smooth rocks kind of at the mouth of a river that emptied into Tupper Lake, and you just kind of got to slide down it, and the current was strong enough to take you down. It was kind of like a little drop off at the end. There was also cliff jumping, which everybody remembers from Sabattis. It's only 25 or 30 feet tall, and it doesn't look that tall when you're down in the water, but once you get up there, you kind of have second doubts about jumping off of that cliff. But the lakes were huge. I mean, they could be mistaken as small oceans almost. I remember a couple times when we would take breaks, we'd kind of all hold our canoes together as one, and the two canoes at the end would tie a tarp to their paddles, and they'd hold their paddles up vertically and let the wind carry us. I miss the scenery the most. I miss hanging with all of the scouts as well and doing our famous portages and spending, quality time at night around the campfire. Oftentimes, especially with Mr. Brown, as we came in on our last night, we used to canoe into the town of Tupper Lake, I think it was, and go to this little bar and pizzeria, and it was the light at the end of the tunnel after eating basically bird food and trail mix the whole week. To have a slice of pizza and to have some lemonade at night was the best thing.
It was definitely the White Mountains. That was definitely the most difficult hiking we did, and if you wanted to go up and over a mountain instead of around it, you could just break off with 3 other people from your crew and go do it. So most of the time it was me, Zach and Matt Brown, Garrett Dickin. That plus you didn't have to carry your tent or your food, because they were cabins along the way. That was choice. So the pack wasn't that bad either. We were going up and over on every mountain. That was glorious. And you could actually see the ocean from the top of Washington. Cold. In the middle of the summer it was cold, which was weird. And it was still. It was supposed to be super, super windy, but it wasn't. So I felt like we got gypped there. But it was a good one. And it was also kind of infuriating that there were cars that could pull right up to the top there. So like we just spent 4 days hiking up mountains and we're like, we finally made it! And then a car almost hits us, so we're like, damn.
Philmont is absolutely the best experience you could ever have as a Boy Scout. The thing about Philmont is you are with the same 12 guys for 2 weeks. and if you get along with one or all of them, it makes or breaks your trip. You know, you can kind of buckle down together and say, well, we've got petty differences, but this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And it so far, it has been for me. And as somebody that's always wanted to go see the West and see the Western United States, I'd never been to Colorado beforehand. I've never gone back. And I want to go back because they're both so beautiful states in a different kind of way than where we live.
And the weather is pretty nice. It, rained maybe once or twice, but it was nice. Like, I could live there if I really wanted to. Tooth of Time was really nice because we went up to there, was it sunrise? Yeah, sunrise. So it was really nice seeing that. That was probably one of my favorites. But Baldy, you can see everywhere.
At Ewell's Park, we got in one night. We finished setting up camp early. We got dinner done, and we had a little bit of spare time before we went to bed. And I remember actually walking out into this meadow. There were trees all around us, and the grass was probably knee-high. We could see every star in the sky above us, but way out in the distance, there was this thunderstorm kind of moving across the horizon out there, and it was so surreal to see this lightning storm happening way out. We couldn't even hear the thunder, but it was just something I had never seen before.
The atmosphere, just being with everybody. I remember conversations that we still had, from the good to the bad. I remember one person getting dehydration sickness. I remember gold mining in the water. Whitewater rafting, I love that. I remember Ben almost falling off, and who caught him? I think it was I remember who caught him. I think it was Mr. Fonnering or Mr. Lee catching him by his life vest as he was about to fall into the water, picking him up. I sat in the front because I just want to see the drops, which was great. But I recall somebody, I'm not saying names, kept ducking behind me and hitting the paddle in my back, digging in my back. So I turned my back and I screamed at him. It's like, be a man and start paddling. And his dad behind him was like, yeah, son. Remember that. That was a lot of fun.
You get there, and you're only there for 14 days, and at the beginning it seems like, oh, we got 14 days here, And then by the time it's like day 13, you're like, wow, that flew by. Like, I don't want to go, Why can't I stay here, I wish I just had one more day just to go see the next cool things. It builds on that camaraderie. You now have to trust 11 other people that they are just as dedicated to this as you are.
And I think the moment that we all realized the importance of Philmont was the day that we got up early to see the sunrise. We got up at 4 o'clock in the morning. We couldn't even find the trail when we woke up. It was so dark. We finally got on the path, got up there in time, just a few minutes before the sunrise came. And I remember just all of us looking at each other kind of back and forth at one another. We didn't say anything, but we just realized how the power of Philmont at that point. After getting through a 12 or 13 day hiking trip, we had all survived. We were just about to get to the Tooth of Time in a few hours and then back to base camp. That's where we all realized, wow, this is what scouting's about.
New Jersey, we still go camping, we still do those things that you do in Boy Scouts, but at most, home is only an hour away. Whereas out there, you hike into the woods with a backpack and that's what you got, and if you decide, if you lose something, or that's it. There's no, calling home for mom to bring you an extra pair of socks. That's it, You're 3,000 miles away from your comfort zone. But again, I think it builds on, Boy Scouting to me always was camaraderie based. That was always its appeal to me. I never had an older brother, so it meant a lot to me to finally have a group of male friends that, we had something in common. And I think Philmont is kind of the culmination of that camaraderie that you have with people you've been, spending the last 5 years with on and off camping trips and stuff like that. But, when you decide as a crew that, you're going to go to Philmont, And a lot of people don't understand that it's not like, you know, you wake up one day, you get on an airplane, and you go to Philmont. That's not how it works, you know. You spend at least a year just in prep hikes, you know, just getting your stuff together, saying, you know, okay, I need this, I don't need this, bring this with me, don't bring that.